PS5 Pro enhanced games are going to have to do more than just slightly bump the resolution. According to new information from The Verge, the PS5 Pro enhanced label is something PlayStation is asking developers for right now. They want them to be preparing and getting games ready, and the requirements are, for the most part, pretty straightforward, but it does sound like there may be allowances for the label to land on a game that is still capped at 30 FPS. So I'm going to talk about that. I can't wait to talk about this with the live audience. We have new information about how the PS5 Pro is going to help older games as well, like even a game that hasn't been patched or updated. So I'm going to give a quick recap of the topic. Maybe you watched the premiere. I'm going to then discuss it with the live stream. If you came from the premiere, you can check out that video. If you haven't watched it yet, you can go leave a comment. That's like my full monologue. This is going to be more of like a brief recap for you. So the PS5 Pro continues to have leaks and information coming out about it, and we now have a better idea of what it will take to get the coveted PS5 Pro enhanced label. More than that, there was a YouTube video that broke the latest round of info, and it's been taken down by Sony. That's basically confirmation that the information in the video was accurate. So very quickly, we're going to walk through the 4 high points here: the backstory, the new information, my thoughts, and lastly, I will make some predictions about what I think PlayStation's going to do next year, but I also have predictions about when they announce this and what they're going to be doing end of this year as well. So just very quickly, the backstory. The PS5 Pro leaks have been slowly coming to the public. First, it was Tom Henderson from Insider Gaming, and that was last year in 2023. And he was largely dismissed, but then the PlayStation Portal proved him right because he predicted it, and it was at the time called the PSQ Lite. So folks started paying more attention to him, and he rightly predicted that we were going to get concrete info in early 2024. He's like, listen, the dev kits are going to start landing at third-party studios, and that's when you're going to start to get more info. You're going to start to get the actual specs of the PS5 Pro. Now, when we first heard about the PlayStation 5 Pro, all we heard was that it was going to accelerate ray tracing. Now, at the time, that led me to say that's going to be market disruptive. Like, developers are going to want to build for a platform that's prioritizing more ray tracing because they like it. And the recent round of specs came out, and it said, you know, hey, there's going to be this push for constant 60 FPS, more ray tracing, higher resolution. And I did a video, and I said, this is going to be the death of 30 FPS games. If you haven't seen that, it's on the channel. Now, fast forward to this week. Tom Warren from The Verge has dropped 2 different articles about the PS5 Pro, and in both of these articles, he's detailing that PlayStation is asking developers to get games ready for the launch, and what they want. If the devs, you know, if they want that PS5 Pro enhanced label, what does PlayStation want in order to give that? Basically, Sony wants games to increase the resolution, add more ray tracing, and boost the FPS, but they don't have to do all of that. Some games may get the label if they just boost the resolution, but then stay at 30 FPS. Now, I personally think that would be a mistake, because it's not really that noticeable to be like, well, this game or this mode is capped at 30 and we boosted the resolution a little bit. All right. The same would be true if they just added some more ray tracing. Well, our ray tracing mode has a little bit more ray tracing. Okay. Again, I don't think that's significant enough to get the label. I'm very biased. I definitely think there should be a larger push for 60 FPS. If you're going to give me 30 FPS, that resolution bump needs to be significant. I'm not even going to run that mode, but if you want the enhanced label is the point that I'm making. We also got new information about what is called Ultra Boost, which devs can get that even if they don't patch their game. So an older game may see a boost in performance even if they don't do anything. Now, Sony did warn there was no guarantee, so patching the game would be the best approach. Now, so quickly, what are my thoughts on this, okay, and some predictions. Very quickly, I think it's clear Sony wants games, likely from their own studios, more than third-party, and that might explain why first-party studios have been very quiet and very absent lately. They're getting their games ready to be PS5 Pro enhanced. That's not exactly a good look. If you launch a PS5 Pro and your first-party games start hitting and they don't have the label, like that's not going to be a thing they're going to want to have. So it could also explain there were internal delays at the end of 2023. We found out that, like, hey, there was a bunch of first-party stuff that got pushed back. There were insiders that were like, there were games that were ready to go and ready to show. We don't know what happened to them, okay? I think I know what happened to them. They're getting their games ready for the PS5 Pro. Essentially, PlayStation could be saving their own first-party games to ensure that they all launch with the PS5 Pro enhanced label after it releases. So from that point on, if you're a first-party studio, you've got to release with that label. That would be my thought on it. I also think if PlayStation does a strong first-party push for the PS5 Pro, third-party developers are going to want the label as well. It may even come with some marketing, some store pushes like, hey, if you get that enhanced label, we're going to put you out there on the storefront. We want people to know. We want people to be thinking about our hardware and the enhancements that they're getting. So those are my thoughts. Let me quickly give you some predictions. I think that 2025 is going to be a big ramp up for first-party PlayStation studios, both in announcements as well with releases. We're finally going to start to see them again. Too many of the first-party PlayStation studios have been dead quiet. They have been non-existent this generation. I think it's directly related to the PS5 Pro. But I also have a prediction about the fourth quarter of this year of 2024. It would not surprise me at all if we see a first-party surprise release. And they would use the PS5 Pro announcement to announce that game, whatever it is. Perhaps Ghost of Tsushima 2 hits fourth quarter this year as a big surprise. I'm not saying it's that game. I'm just using it as an example. And that could be like the first PS5 Pro enhanced new first-party studio game. I also don't think they're going to announce the PS5 Pro at their summer showcase. They're likely going to give the PS5 Pro its own state of play, and my prediction is they will do that sometime in September. That would make the release date of the PlayStation 5 Pro October or November. I also keep saying many people are speaking too soon. There is commentary about the CPU is going to be bottlenecked and that GTA 6 is going to be 30 FPS on the PS5 Pro. It just feels like another round of bad predictions and completely inaccurate claims, just like the ones that were made about the PS5 before it came out. There are tweets, there are articles, there's predictions about the PS5 that turned out to be laughably false, and I think we're probably in a similar situation. So regardless, if people think the PS5 Pro is necessary or not, it's coming, and the devs are going to want to be a part of those enhancements. But those are just my thoughts. Now it's time to hear your thoughts. So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you guys so much for being here today. We are continuing to try this format, and I hope you like it. The premiere hits, and then we bring you over here to the live discussion. I really do hope that helps you out. There's like is there an overlay on my stream down in the corner? Is there like a little, did we turn that on? I've never seen that before. I'm looking at the dashboard of my live stream and there's like a little joystick down here in the corner. So I have a really big announcement though. For all of the people gifting members and receiving gifted members, we have made a significant change, and you might have seen the post on the channel, okay? You might have seen the post on the channel. So we are making a change to membership because what we were trying to do was we were trying to say, hey, you're a gifted member, here's a sample. And it wasn't working. So we've decided to say, if you're a gifted member, if you're a VIP member, if you're a paying member, if you're any member tier, you get to come to all of the members' content, except for one thing. There's a Friday VIP stream. We're still going to do that just for VIP. So if you want to come to that, the sort of unfiltered, me and my producer and sometimes 30 and So Gaming hangout, if you want to come to that, that's a VIP perk. We also have a VIP lounge in the Discord, and they get some cool stuff in there sometimes. So if you get a gifted member, you now get to come to the writer's room. You get to come to Friday night streams with Madam. We're not going to put her behind an emoji or anything like that. We kind of reacted to some of the hate and some of the negative attention, and I've decided no. A member is a member. We want to honor the people that gift a member. We want to honor the people who have been getting members for a really long time. I've seen so many long-standing names that are currently in a situation where they have to rely on a gifted membership and they don't get to come to any of the extra content. And I didn't like the way that felt. I said yesterday when we were in the writer's room, I said, I just really feel like we took the wind out of the sails of getting a gifted member. It's like they don't get anything. They get a badge, they get emotes, and they get access to the Discord. So a member is a member, okay? And we're happy that so many of you gift, and we're excited for you to celebrate big member goals with us. So if we hit the member goal this Friday night, you guys can all come, right? You can come to the writer's room, which is every day. It's a background sort of inside look into what we do and how we come up with our shows. So that's just a little bit of housekeeping. And we want to show appreciation to the people gifting, but also to the people who are here so often that they get a gifted member. And if you guys hit the goal this week, we're going to play Ghost of Tsushima this Friday with 2 controllers. We're going to play one of my favorite games. My wife and I can control the character with 2 controllers. It'll be hilarious, and you don't want to miss it. And you guys are well on your way. You are well on your way to getting that goal. So let me thank some of the gifted members. Joker Quinn, Han shot first, and so did you, starting things off. And there it is. And we have 2 gifted members already, thanks to Vapor gifting 1 as well. So if you guys are gifting, you're inviting those people into all of the members' content as well as the Discord. I hope you guys enjoy the writer's room. You're going to really get to see that kind of like behind the scenes, as Zuby is saying, how the bread is made, how the sausage is made. You get to see how the show is made, right? It's basically we're letting you into the cutting room floor of the studio, okay? So if you're new here or you just tuned in, smash the like button. Now that we've got that way, that housekeeping out of the way, keep gifting those members, by the way. You're currently at... It was 85, so 87. We're trying to get 300 new gifted members this week. If we hit that 300, we'll celebrate Friday night with that stream with Madam where we play Ghost of Tsushima together. So you guys are about a third of the way there already, so we can push hard today. I've got 2 segments for you. We're going to talk today and right now about PlayStation 5 Pro enhanced games, and I want to ask you guys the question that I asked on Twitter. Because my opinion on this, you know my opinion on this, you know my bias and my thoughts about 60 FPS and 30 FPS. I asked the question on Twitter. I said, should PlayStation require the label for PS5 Enhanced? Should they require games to be at 60 FPS? And because my personal opinion is that if you launch a game in 2024 and beyond, and it's capped at 30 FPS, let's talk about Dragon's Dogma 2 as an example. And if that game is still capped at 30 FPS on the PS5 Pro, but they boost the resolution a little bit, I don't think they get the label. I don't think that that's a good idea. I think that's bad for the consumer's perception. That's bad for consumer expectation, okay? If you have a game like Gotham Knights, if you have a game like, I don't know, Starfield, and it's capped at 30 FPS, but you boost the resolution a little bit, I do not think that gets the PS5 Pro Enhanced label. That is my opinion. I want to know what you think. I think if you get the label, bare minimum, there should be some way, some option to have 60 FPS. There should be a mode. There should be an option. Because I don't think, let's say you've got a game that is capped at 30 and it's got all this great ray tracing. There's no performance mode. And you just add more ray tracing. And they're like, yeah, that's PS5 Pro Enhanced. I'm like, who's going to be able to tell that they added a little bit more ray tracing? I don't think the consumer is going to be adept enough to say, oh yeah, I can definitely tell I'm getting my money's worth here. Would it be out of character for Sony to set a target with specific resolution or frame rate? The one article, when we covered this 2 weeks ago, the one article from Insider Gaming, it said that they were wanting a constant 60 FPS. Now, that was not necessarily a requirement, but it sounded like that was something that PlayStation was wanting. If you boost the resolution by 50%, that's a big leap. Now, that's what I was going to say, Paul. If you're just going to boost the resolution, you really need to boost it. They said, oh, it might go up from 1080 to 1280. I'm like, that's not enough. To go from 1080 to 1280, ew, especially if it's 30 FPS, gross. Why am I buying a PS5 Pro enhanced game and getting 1280 30? That's a freaking joke. Like, that would be almost embarrassing to even have that label on a game with performance like that. Yo, I am Melee with 28 months in a VIP. 60 FPS needs to be minimum for the Pro. If they can do that, they can shut up and take my money. 30 FPS or 60 doesn't matter to me. If the game is good and I'm having a great time, I can look past that. I'm not concerned about whether or not people like or dislike 30 FPS with this question. If you're going to slap a label on a game and you're going to say, this is PS5 Pro Enhanced, my personal opinion is you got to do a whole lot more than just, well, we raised the resolution. well, we added more ray tracing. It's like, okay, great. We have right now a PS5 base model that is capable of giving 30 FPS ray tracing modes and 60 FPS performance modes. And if you go into a ray tracing mode or a quality mode and you add more ray tracing or you add more resolution and that's all you do, that to me doesn't create a significant enough difference to say, oh, this is a PS5 Pro enhanced game. Now, if the devs want to do that and they want to say, hey, we boosted the resolution thanks to the Pro, that's fine. If that's what a developer wants to do, that's totally fine. That's their artistic vision. But if you want the label PS5 Pro Enhanced, you can't just go into an existing mode that already focuses on resolution and ray tracing and give a little bit more. Like, come on, that's not going to be enough. You're going to have consumers saying, wait, I thought this was a PS5 Pro Enhanced game. I'm not even getting that much more than the standard PS5 gets. Keep hearing chatter from of another game price hike. Does getting this label open the door to start charging more? Oh, I don't know. That's a really good question. I don't think so. I don't think people would like that. If you buy into a higher tier of hardware and then they're like, hey, congratulations, you now have to pay $80 a game. I don't know about that. Zubair says, is it going to be set a precedent that the PS6 will always beat the PS5 Pro enhanced performance? Okay, that's actually a really good question. So based on what they have said in the documents that have been leaked, the PSSR technology is targeting 4K 60, 8K 30. Like, that's what they're hoping to see the results. They're hoping they see those results on the PS5 Pro. And then they're hoping beyond that, and they didn't say this, but I'm reading into it, they hope to eventually have that technology getting 4K 120, 8K 60. And when they say that, I think they're envisioning the PS6. So the PSSR technology is going to grant them the ability to, I think, like build a bridge between the PS5 Pro and the PS6. The bridge will be, yeah, I like that. Good job on today's Lono log. I like that. Although Lono log sounds like, I'm taking a dump or something, but I appreciate the creativity. It looks better than it sounds, right? When you read it in the chat, it looks nice, like a monologue, like a Lono log. But then when I say it out loud, it sounds like I'm talking about a turd. Which we don't want to say that about my content, right? I mean, maybe somebody wants to say that. Anyways. They said in that one document that, that got released that the PSSR was going to target, that higher. And that's what I think they're doing. I think they're targeting, like, having a bridge between the two consoles, basically, with the PSSR, with the upscaling. Give me 1 second. I didn't do the white balance trick. I'm going to have to do it to the other camera. 1 second. It's gonna drive me crazy, like, because my arms are super white, they enter the frame and leave the frame, the camera's like, oh, like, it doesn't know what to do with the white balance. Yo, the Turk with a $5 super chat tip says, here's the question. Would you accept the label if they bumped FPS but dropped resolution down a bit? For example, 1280 down to 1080. I don't think that the technology would lead to that, Turk. As I understand the technology, what you're describing won't happen. What could happen is they use the upscaler to boost resolution and they don't touch frame rate. So what you're saying would be unlikely, that they would be like, well, let's boost the FPS but drop res. That wouldn't, as I understand it, if you're trying to leverage the PlayStation PSSR tech on the PS5, you're using an upscaler. So the primary thing you're going to see devs doing likely is boosting res, because they can, if in my monologue, if you guys watched the premiere, you saw it. They're getting like 2 milliseconds of latency, taking a 1080 image up to 4K. That's pretty significant. So, like, I think a lot of devs are going to set their sights on the upscaling. And the beauty of that is that you could go for example, you could go to a performance mode that's right now running at like a 1440-60, and they could upsample that to 4K, and you would just keep your 60. They've already got it working. They would just use the upscaler to boost the resolution. So essentially what they would do is... Did we get a red pop on my mic? I swear I saw a red pop over there. I was like, I didn't get very loud. Drop internal res and use upscaling to get performance. That's exactly right, human type person. It's far more likely that they do something with the upscaler to then net better performance. So you're just not it's not as taxing. Raising the resolution is just incredibly taxing. It's why there's so few native 4K games. When you're playing a 4K game or a 4K mode right now, you're playing a game that's been upscaled because it's so taxing to raise the resolution that high. By the way, if you're just tuning in, maybe you came from the premiere. If you guys are watching the premiere first and then coming here, thank you so much. That's a new change to the format here. I know it's a little confusing because of the way we schedule. You might see both videos in your feed. Just get in the habit of you'll see the premiere, you watch the premiere, and then you'll see the one with the live thumbnail, and that's the second thing that we do. It enables us to give a more condensed version of the monologue for people that maybe don't want to yes, this works so much better. It's the playlist. It's the playlist, creature. That's what it is. I think it's the playlist. I think if we don't put it in the playlist, which I think I added it to the playlist near the end, and you can almost see when I added it to the playlist, there's like a bump. We're trying something with the video as well. Like, we don't want it to like we don't want you guys necessarily looking at the live stream until it's live. We want you watching the premiere. It doesn't serve any purpose to have you like hanging out in the live stream chat when I'm not live and the premiere's running. So I tried something this morning that looks like it worked, and as long as it wasn't super confusing for you guys, we're gonna keep doing it this way. So I hope you guys aren't getting too discombobulated by what we're doing. So which, by the way, if you came from the premiere and you're enjoying this show, smash that like button, and then that helps this video find more people. And we had a really big announcement right at the beginning of the stream. Thank you so much. Brand new coffee order. Actually, somebody ordered a Reforge Team Frick mug. Thank you so much for doing that. Appreciate that very, very much. And if you guys are enjoying the content, hit subscribe so you don't miss it. Hit like. But also, we had a huge announcement this morning. All members can now come to the writer's room, which is the daily segment where we plan the next day. Everybody gets to come to that. And you also get to come to the Friday night streams with Madam. So we tried something from January to now, basically saying gifted, you could come to some of the content, and then hoping, people would be like, oh, I'm going to upgrade so I can come to more. We just think it's more clearer and better for you and better for the people gifting to just celebrate and say, hey, you got a gifted, you get to come to everything. So the becoming a member now has a lot more value. So if you click the join button and become a member, or if you gift members, you're bringing people into the fold. You're bringing people into all of the content. I hope you guys enjoy that. And if we hit the goal for Friday night, we've got something really fun planned for you guys with my wife and I this Friday night. So 500 people, hit the like button. That's right. Smash the like button, man. Vapor's calling you guys out. The writer's room equals Lono's casting couch. No, the writer's room is where we plan the next day's shows. So if you guys are interested in seeing kind of how all that happens, it's really enjoyable. You see how the thumbnail is thought about and the POV of the show and the monologue. It's really fun. People seem to like it. Spider-Man 2 has ray tracing in every mode, 30 FPS, 40 FPS, and 60 FPS on the base PS5. Giving devs more to work with is just better overall for the gamers, says Tubbs Gaming. WGC says this Pro seems better, but may struggle to hit 60 FPS with more CPU-bound topics. I mean, that keeps coming up. What about CPU-bound games? And AOZ was in here, yesterday kind of talking about a lot of people don't necessarily understand how that works. They're kind of jumping to conclusions. So maybe I'm wrong in saying this, but my estimation was that a game like Dragon's Dogma 2 isn't going to benefit that much from the Pro. It just isn't. it's CPU bottlenecked, and the Pro is not targeting giving you a ton of more CPU power. Now you can run the CPU in the enhanced mode or whatever it's called, and you get like the extra 10%. But I don't think that's going to be enough to like change a game like Dragon's Dogma, where people with really beastly computers, even they aren't getting the greatest performance because it all hits the CPU and gets logjam there, and they're like, well, I turned down all my graphic settings and I lowered my resolution and it didn't really make a difference. And it's like, yeah, because that's not where the pain point is. That's not what the issue is. So the PS5 Pro, to me, seems to be targeting upscaling technology to say, hey, you're still making a game for the base PS5, but you can boost it with the upscaler, and that way it's less taxing on the game itself, and you're hitting a higher threshold of resolution. You're able to do more ray tracing because the PS5 Pro is going to help with accelerating ray tracing, and you're not going to be having this massive problem of performance. I think you missed the joke. You said the Reforge Gaming Pro seems better, may struggle to hit 60 FPS with more CPU-bound topics. Oh, topics. That was a really subtle joke. Perhaps, it was perhaps too subtle. It was perhaps too subtle, but that was a really subtle joke. I'm getting, arrived 10:45 that day. Let us know that'll work for you. Wait, when was I supposed to get my hair cut? No, I'm not. I can't do that. That's too early for me. Sorry. They're asking me to come in earlier. They have like a schedule overlap. And it's like, yeah, I can't do that. They do that sometimes. They're like, well, can you come in a little bit earlier or come in a little bit later? Was a good one. How many enhanced games would we be talking about? Well, currently, PlayStation is asking for enhanced games. And Paul just sent me a video or an article. That's a good list showing how the CPU helped on the PS4 versus the PS4 Pro. I don't want to open that. I sometimes when I open up articles like that, it causes frame issues on the stream. Stone Spire with 12 months and a VIP says 1 year in and more to go. Just order the 14-ounce mug in celebration. Keep up the great work. Okay, you're the one that ordered the mugs. Thank you so much, Stone Spire, for doing that. And you guys are currently sitting at 87 members on the week. We are shooting for 300. Y'all are going to have to go pretty big today and tomorrow. Fridays are a little bit harder to do that if you guys want to hit that weekly goal. We're no longer doing a total member goal because we thought that was really unfair. Supercuts? No. I get my hair cut by... I don't go to Supercuts. Nothing against anybody who goes to Supercuts, but I've had bad experiences at places like that. And then you come back and your hair looks bad for like a while. You did bring up a great point, though. If games get more CPU bound, it may not help at all. Well, but here's the thing, Lions fan. We know that developers want to push ray tracing. We know that developers want to push resolution. And we know developers want performance to be good. Like, these are things that I think are fair to assume about developers. Okay? I think they're going to look at the PS5 Pro and the architecture, and they're going to say, you know what? Let's build a game around the upscaler. Let's build a game around that extra ray tracing that we can do. And that's going to make them lean on the GPU, the PSSR, the upscaling. They're going to lean on that instead of saying, oh, we CPU bound our game. Now, obviously, if their game's been in development for a really long time, they can't change that. It's not like Capcom could suddenly completely change... wouldn't suddenly be like, oh, well, let's just completely rebuild our game and let's remove the CPU bound nature or the CPU bottleneck of our game. Like, I don't think you're going to see that happen, but I do think now that devs have the dev kit, I think they're going to be excited to say, we can get more ray tracing, we can get more resolution, and performance isn't going to get trashed. It's not going to hurt the performance of the game. Mash says, personally, I'm okay with 30 FPS at 4K, but 60 FPS is just objectively better if you can keep the same resolution. So I don't see how having a Pro version is bad. I just don't know how well it will sell. I think it'll sell just fine. I do. I think it'll sell just fine. Okay, here's just a sample of some of the things the PS4 Pro is able to do. So I'm looking at a bunch of games. BioShock Infinite with the boost mode locked the frame rate at 60 instead of it dropping. Borderlands 2 and Borderlands the pre-sequel, they were able to lock the frame rate at 60 instead of it fluctuating. Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, Costume Quest, some game called Cruxealer Sigma, Dark Souls 2, Scholar of First Sin. Those are examples of games that went from like a frame rate that was fluctuating to a locked 60 FPS, and that was on the PS4 Pro. There was a handful of games that were able to lock the frame rate that was reducing some frame pacing issues, like Bloodborne. They were able to lock it at 30 on the Pro. And there's a handful of games I'm seeing on here that were at fluctuating or up to 30, and then they were able to lock it at 30. So just and that's just the letters B through D, BioShock to Dead Island. Those are just games that the PS4 Pro was able to give, you know, more consistent performance on. If you would have covered the Nintendo showcase, you'd have been ticked. Oh, yeah, I knew not to take that risk. Listen, I tried to tell people yesterday. It might have been too late in the day. People might not have heard me say this. If you were hoping to see Silksong today at that indie showcase, Silksong is clearly in a marketing contract with Xbox. So, and a 10 bomb comes in from MASH, celebrating the new fact that if you get a gifted member, you get to come to all of the extra content now. We have made a change. If you get a gifted member, we will see you later today in the writer's room where we plan the next day's shows. We'll see you Friday night in the stream with my wife. What we're doing depends on you, though. If we hit that amazing goal, we will see if you guys can do it. We were currently at 85 and 12 is 97. You guys are really close to 100 members for the week, and we're aiming for 300. So you guys are crushing it. Thank you so much, MASH, for doing that. The PS4 Pro is fire. Silksong is the new Duke Nukem. Well, Silksong was just rated in Australia, so it is likely. I think it's coming this year. I think it'll be at the Xbox showcase, and I think it's a third or fourth quarter release. That's what I think. It being rated means it's within like 60 or 80 days of releasing, I believe, which that actually might make it, that might actually put it closer to the summer, honestly. Also important to note that the PS4 Pro enhanced games almost all ran at 60 FPS on the PS5 with no patch required. Okay, so that's really, really good insight. So basically, if a bunch of these developers, a bunch of these first-party developers enhance their games for the PS5 Pro, they have, and I've referred to this as a bridge, they're building a bridge between this generation and the next generation, because the PSSR technology right now on the PlayStation 5 Pro is going to target 4K 60, 8K 30. But they said in the internal documents that got leaked, they said that they would be targeting with PSSR, like their long-term goal is 4K 120, 8K 60, which sounds crazy, but I think that's their plan for the PS6. The PlayStation 6 is basically going to take every single PlayStation 5 Pro enhanced game and double your performance. Basically give you double the frames. Like that's what their target is. That's what they're hoping to see. And what that means is that anybody right now developing a game and leveraging this new tech and this upscaler, this proprietary thing that PlayStation has built, if they build a game to interact with that, it should be able to tap into the exact same benefits and power and technology in the PlayStation 6. I think it's a pretty smart play from PlayStation. They're essentially building I would say, I've used this phrase before. Zuby makes fun of me for saying this. He's like, I know that didn't originate from you, and it didn't originate from me. They're building cartilage between the two generations. They're connecting them. It's not going to be this sharp turn of like, well, now all of the games have to be built for the PlayStation 6. They're like, no, right now it's 2024, and over the next 4 to 5 years, a bunch of games are going to be tapping into the technology of the PS5 Pro and the PSSR, and when they do that, they're already basically building their game for the PS6. That game the games will cross-generationally jump to the 6 and just likely just get better performance automatically. They'll just run better. Oh wow, yeah, the our technology that I really wish that they could have come up with a better acronym instead of PSSR. It quite literally looks like pisser. The PS5 Pro looks promising, says Jose. Unfortunately, I have all my library on PC and Xbox, so not for me, at least in the short term. Yeah, I mean, I am definitely feeling the library effect, because my biggest library is on my Xbox, but those games are just getting older and older and older with time, and I don't have a huge desire to go back and play Xbox 360 games. I have a ton of them, and I just don't have really a desire to go back and play them. It's great that I have them. It's great that my kiddos can go look at them and periodically try them out, but in general, that's just not really a big selling point for me. My library on my PlayStation now, to me, is just more, it just feels more relevant. You know, it's like, oh, well, these are the games I'm playing now. These games are at the performance that I want to see now. So my library, it definitely feels like my library allegiance has just shifted, because this is where I'm buying next-gen games. This is where I'm playing next-gen games. And then they'll play better than all the PS6 games, and the cycle will continue. Play better than all the PS6 games? I'm not sure what you mean. That's another good point. I wouldn't want to invest in the Pro for PlayStation to drop the 6 2 years later. Oh, the 6 isn't coming in 2 years. No. The PlayStation 6 is likely arriving in 2028. It might get pushed back to 2029 because of how the first year of this gen went, but there is absolutely no way you would see a PlayStation 6 in 2026. That's way too fast. That's way too fast. I only got to see Madden and 2K on the Pro. I wish I could have seen a few more games. What do you mean? Are you talking about the PS4 Pro? All these games dropping unfinished and broken, PC, PlayStation, Xbox, been a letdown for me. I mean, I've not been disappointed with most of the games that I was looking forward to. Like, I thought Spider-Man 2 was good. I thought Helldivers 2 was good. I thought Prince of Persia was really, really good. I'm enjoying Rise of the Ronin right now. I want to go back to The Last of Us 2 remaster. Ragnarok was good. Forbidden West was good. Final Fantasy 16 disappointed me. Jedi Survivor disappointed me because of the performance issues. But, yeah, I feel like I've gotten most of the games that I have purchased that I was like, oh, that game looks good. I've received what I was hoping to receive. Jedi Survivor got better, and I was able to finish it, and it was one of my favorite games. But, you know, outside of Final Fantasy 16's performance mode, I think this gen has been... It's been obviously a little lopsided, but I've been I've been actually very pleased with the games that I have played and purchased. You know, I've not felt all these games are unfinished and broken and not worth playing. I haven't felt that. Now, obviously, Dragon's Dogma ticked a lot of people off with its issues, and Rise of the Ronin, I think, still needs some love. I think one solid performance patch, and I think people are going to be thinking differently. You know what's going to happen with Rise of the Ronin? I think Rise of the Ronin is like the next Days Gone. In like 2 years, it'll hit PS Plus, and everyone's going to be like, why did this game get so much hate? Well, it'll be a much different game by then. It'll probably play better, run better, look better, you know? And people are going to be like, I don't understand. Like, I think Rise of the Ronin is the next Days Gone. Poor reception at release because of performance issues. Now, Days Gone had, like, bugs. There aren't really bugs in Ronin. It just doesn't run that well. You know, Rebirth is so good. Yeah, Stellar Blade's on the horizon. That demo shows a lot of promise. So, you know, I think what ends up happening is a couple of games come out that clearly aren't ready or have performance issues, and it can, like, almost hijack your mind. It's like that's the primary thing that you see and focus on and think about. And I get it. I mean, I've been there myself. Like, sometimes it feels like, man, are we going to get any complete games? Are we going to get any games that are worth playing? And it's like, well, then I forget that I really enjoyed Prince of Persia, and that I've, you know, put almost 80 hours into Helldivers 2. And it's like, you know, I think sometimes we forget the good really quickly for some reason. Rabbit with the 5 spot says, when the PS5 Pro drops, are you going to give Final Fantasy 16 another shot? Keep up the great work. You know, obviously, that was one of the first games I thought of, Rabbit, where in one of the articles from The Verge, you know, Tom Warren was talking about the PS5 Ultra Boost, that even if they don't patch the game might get a boost in performance. And the first thing I thought of was, well, maybe Final Fantasy 16 will benefit. But I think the issue with Final Fantasy 16 is that they're using FSR 1, which has been criticized as a decision, and they turn off dynamic resolution when you're not in combat. So I think they would have to patch it. I think they would have to patch FF16 for it to benefit from what the Pro is offering. I don't think it would. Those are technical level decisions that they made that the Pro isn't going to be able to fix just because it's stronger. Now, we might get, when they turn off dynamic resolution, the frame dips and the frame stutters might not be as severe in Final Fantasy 16, so that I don't notice it as much. But, buddy, when you go to a town, it's bad. It looks terrible. I'm like, what? It's like, it feels like the game is having a problem. I don't know. Every game I played at launch has been great. Only one with issues was Last Epoch, and I just played that one offline. Bold Alpha Wolf says, I need reassurance the Pro will precede the 6 by at least 5 years. Otherwise, I would sit tight for a PS6. So in your mind, the PlayStation 5 Pro release date is likely end of this year, okay? Let's say November. I think October, November. I think they announced it in September at its own state of play. Okay? Let's just imagine that you buy one. And let's imagine 4 years later, the PlayStation 6 comes out. So for 4 years, you're getting games all throughout the year that are PS5 Pro enhanced. You're getting first-party titles, okay? And you would say, I would have just rather waited for the PS6 during those 4 years. I guess the question would be, do you already have a PlayStation 5? If you already have a PlayStation 5, I suppose I could understand why you're like, I'm not going to buy a device and then in 4 years be like, well, now I've got to replace it again. You know, if you already have a PlayStation 5, I think I understand where you're coming from more than if you don't have one, buying the Pro and expecting PlayStation to wait 5 years to do the next gen. You have to understand what you're purchasing. You're purchasing a mid-gen refresh. A mid-gen refresh can't guarantee you that the next gen waits 5 or more years to land. I think that's you're fine to want that and expect that. Like, if that's your priority as a consumer, if that's your standard as a consumer and you hold to that, I have respect for consumers that do that. That they're like, this is the line that I'm drawing and I'm not budging. I respect that. I don't necessarily understand it. I don't know if it's reasonable. You're welcome to hold to that and be like, nope, not doing it. It's like, I don't think that's reasonable to buy a mid-gen refresh and expect them to be like, well, no, we're not going to do anything for five or more years. If they're going to release that whole 4 years, I'm in. But yeah. Oh, you have a PS5. Yeah, if you have a PS5 now, I think your position makes sense. You're like, I'm good. I get if you're satisfied with the performance that you get on the PlayStation 5 and you're like, I don't see a reason to upgrade, I'm going to stay where I am, then I think that's a respectable position. I think that's fine. I don't know. The only criticism I'm kind of pushing back with you is I don't know if it's realistic to say, yeah, I expect them to do a mid-gen refresh and not do the next gen for 5 or more years. I don't think that's realistic. I think that's where you kind of go off a little bit into left field slightly, you know, and then it's readjusted. See, now it's readjusted 5,000. It still gave us a stupid amount of impressions. It's like it course corrects or something. It's like it course corrects 6,000 impressions when we weren't even, like 5,000 to 6,000 impressions when we weren't even live. I really don't understand. It didn't show me that initially. It looked like what I had done had worked. I'm trading my PS5 for a Pro. Days Gone, Epic AF, Dark Souls 2, Epic AF. I'm not sure what you just talking about games that you like. I played some of those games years later and was saying out loud, WTF, people were saying this is trash. For example, Cyberpunk game, Epic AF. Right. But you understand, what's your name? Neo... I don't even know what your name is. Neolin Wolf? I'm just going to call you Wolf Twin. Wolf Twin. You understand why that happened with those games. Specifically, I'm going to speak to Cyberpunk and Days Gone. Like, they didn't launch very well. Especially Cyberpunk. So, like, of course you played them years later and you're like, why did everybody dog these games? Like, Days Gone was a good game at launch. It was just really buggy and had a lot of problems. So it really turned people off. They were, they were very critical of it. It did not do well with the consumers because it had a bunch of problems. Yeah, Cyberpunk especially. General population will still be buying standard PS5s. PS5 Pro is for hardcore gamers who really care about performance. Here's where I'm going to disagree with you, Venom Fang. I think you're right to a point. I think that most people will just go for the standard PS5 because it will be less. I don't think they're going to lower the price of the standard PS5, by the way. But I think the PS5 Pro being more expensive, you're correct that most people are just going to be like, just give me the standard PS5. I don't think that the PS5 Pro is just for hardcore gamers who only really care about performance. I think that the PS5 Pro will appeal to the people who always want the best. You're not necessarily a hardcore gamer. You might just have tons of disposable income. Maybe you're wealthy. Maybe you're single. Maybe you just have money to spend and you're like, no, I want the best. I don't necessarily think only hardcore gamers are going to find the PS5 Pro appealing. I think there's always a sector of the market that says, I want the best, I'm going to buy the best. And they'll always do the upsell, whether it's the TV that's bigger, brighter, faster, whatever. So I think at one level you're correct that a lot of people are going to walk in the store and say, oh, it's $100 difference. I'm not spending the extra $100 so that my games can look prettier. They'll be happier, they'll be happy with the PS5. And a single gift that comes in from Joker Quinn. Thank you so much for doing that, taking us to 13 members on the day, inching even closer to 100 members on the week, guys. We're going for 300. You guys already have almost 100 members on the week. And I announced it today, all gifted members, you can now come to the writer's room as well as Friday night streams with Madam. We made that change today. What was the conversion rate of the PS4 Pro? 10 to 15%. Eugene says it sold somewhere between 15 and 20 million. You just bought a PS5 2 weeks ago. You're enjoying Ghost of Tsushima, starting a new library. Ghost of Tsushima is such a great place to start. You have such an amazing backlog of games that you can play through. Kirk says, I don't think we see an actual PS5 price decrease, but they will start to sell only the $400 digital edition and then also the PS5 Pro. I mean, I don't know if there's a reason to only sell the $400 digital edition, Kirk, because they say they unified the SKU. When you buy the PlayStation 5 now that has the disc drive, you're buying the digital version. It's just that the disc drive is included. They unified the SKU, so I don't know if there'd really be a reason for them to halt production on the drive. Well, not even that. I mean, they'd have to halt production on the drives, just the ones, I guess, that they put into the box, and then just sell them separately. You know what I mean? You think the Pro will launch with... I don't know what you're saying. Ghost of Tsushima PC is sounding great. Trophy support, PlayStation overlay, more cartilage. Oh, certainly. I know that's leading to a lot of, I think that's leading to a lot of bad predictions. I think everyone's basically trying to act as if PlayStation's doing the same thing that Xbox did however many years ago. I don't think you see day and date PlayStation games on PC before Spider-Man 3. That's even if they do it for Spider-Man 3. They'd have to completely change their development pipelines at their first-party studios. They would essentially have to ask their studios to do to do parallel development. And currently, they're not set up for that. Currently, they're set up for bring an amazing game to market and then hand it to Nixxes or hand it to another porting company. That's currently what they're set up for. So I think if they start doing day and date, I on PC, I think you would see them change significantly how their dev studios operate. Or they might start hiring companies or tasking the porting companies to do parallel. I don't even know if that's something that Nixxes would want, or I don't know if that's how Nixxes operates. I don't know. You'd have to somehow do an interview or contact people at Nixxes to be like, hey, if PlayStation essentially approached you and said, we need the next God of War or we need the next Ghost of Tsushima or whatever to land day and date on both platforms. Helldivers 2 is a live service game. We were told years ago they were going to do that. That's not an indication that they're going to be doing that. Arrowhead's also not a first-party studio. I don't think they're going to be asking their first-party studios, the ones that they own, to suddenly start doing parallel development. I see no signs of that. You would completely change the development process. Now, Santa Monica indicated that when they brought God of War 2018 to PC, they went and changed things in the pipeline of Ragnarok, and I essentially said that's going to help Ragnarok come to PC faster. I don't know if that means, yeah, we changed some of our pipeline work, and we're maybe also in the background they're thinking we're gonna need to get better at developing for PC at the same time that we're developing for the PlayStation. Again, anytime PlayStation has talked about this to the public, whether it was the Herman Hulst interview where he said the earliest you'd ever see it was a year, or there was interviews where they were like, we are not in favor of parallel development, that would be a philosophical as well as a logistical change that I don't see happening. The people that are pushing that are only pushing that because their brand has kind of put things into overdrive with, well, our games are going to go everywhere. They don't like that, and their consolation is to say, well, PlayStation 2, and it's like, I don't see any indication that PlayStation's doing that. Even if PlayStation starts launching games day and date, it seemed like they were going to be willing to do that with Spider-Man 3 from the Insomniac leaks. It also looked like Spider-Man 3 was going to ship with multiplayer at launch, which might be then why they would do that. They're like, well, we're going to have a live service component, so we want this to hit both platforms day and date. Even if that starts to happen, that doesn't mean PlayStation's going to be putting their games on Nintendo or Xbox. I don't think so. If they start doing day and date on PC, that it does not mean they're going to start putting their games on the other consoles. I don't think they would suddenly task their developers with, well, now you got to build your game for every single platform. That's not true, Lono. The Insomniac leaks are talking about it too. Maybe unmute the stream, because I literally just said that, Bold Alpha Wolf. Like, you grind the axe so hard you don't listen to what I said. I quite literally just referenced the Insomniac leaks, brother. You gotta unmute the stream. Trill Troll with 22 months in a VIP. I'm going to upgrade to get the PS5 Pro. I can't decide if I should sell my base PS5 or hand it down to my sister who's still playing on the peasant PS4. Should I be selfish or a good brother? You should be a good brother, dude. I always handed down my systems to my nephews. Harbinger with 10 months of memberships. Welcome back, Harbinger. Appreciate that so much. For Venom and Wolverine, they're crunching the numbers on the immediate audience they can address. Yeah, and again, the projections were that Spider-Man 3, would land day and date. Unless there's new leaks from Insomniac, I saw no leaks about Wolverine, I saw no leaks about Venom being day and date on PC. We didn't see that. You are either hearing from somebody who's being dishonest, which was really common back then when all that leaked, or there's a new leak that I didn't see. I didn't see a single article. I didn't see a single reputable outlet saying that Insomniac is considering day and date on PC for Wolverine and Venom. There was one chart that said Spider-Man 3 was going to have multiplayer at launch as well as a PC release at launch. You typed it before you brought up Insomniac. Yeah, but even before, no, I've mentioned Insomniac and the fact that they would do it with Spider-Man 3 multiple times. It wasn't just recently. I mentioned it 5 minutes ago. You got to listen. I literally said the first time it might happen is with Spider-Man 3, and we learned that in the Insomniac leaks. That was like 5 minutes ago, brother. I think we still need to have older games from PS1, 2, 3, 4, Vita. There's some missing games. That might be a priority for you. It's not a priority for me. I wasn't around during that generation. So I don't care about any of that. I don't care about those old games. I don't think that's a priority, to be quite honest, because I don't think there's a ton of people in the market that care about it either. I do not think the vast majority of people that are buying PlayStation 5s or coming to the market and hoping to get a PS5 are like, well, they better start to bring back those PS1, PS2, PS3, PlayStation 4, and PSP and the Vita. I need all those games again. There are people that want that. I don't think they're a majority, though. So I don't know if PlayStation is going to prioritize that. I'm all for game preservation, but you're not going to motivate these companies to do it if they can't make money off of it, right? They can't make money off of it. If they can make money off of it, they'll do it. But I think it's kind of like when Xbox was doing the FPS boost thing, and they were really promoting that, and then they just stopped talking about it. Because it was great for a marketing selling point when the console first came out, but again, it's really difficult to ask businesses and companies to do things if they can't make money off of it, because that can be basically harmful to the company. That would be an act of business self-harm. It would be like, well, we're just going to do this just to be nice. It's like, you're going to have a hard time convincing people to do that. Trying to figure out all of the ways of getting those older games to run. You know, some of them, I forget the reason why. There's an entire era of PlayStation games, and there's a reason that you can only cloud stream them. I forget what the reason was, but it's just like, it's not a priority for me, so I don't really look into it. And I certainly don't think it's going to be a priority for a lot of these businesses. It's why emulation and game preservation would be fantastic if these companies would monetize it, so that then consumers could go to an emulation store and say, hey, can I buy this really old Nintendo or Atari game for $5 or whatever? Do it legitimately, do it legally, and then we would have game preservation, right? But these companies aren't going to want to do it because they probably wouldn't be able to make enough money. All the work and all the research, there's also a lot of legal problems because there are literal developers and publishers that don't exist anymore, and their games are what? I don't know. I don't know who owns some of those games now and the rights to them. I'll push back on that. They do need more PS1 and PS titles because they need to keep creating value proposition for their premium subscription, which that's essentially the only benefit of it. I think that's probably the single weakest value proposition of a subservice. You want new people to sign up for the subservice? You're not going to do it with really old games. Dead honest. No way. That's the single weakest proposition. When you're launching brand new games like Spider-Man and Horizon Forbidden West and when Helldivers 2, and you're like, you want to sign up for PlayStation Plus? And you're like, well, why would I? We got these really old games, man. Like, that's not at all. You're not going to get people to sign up for PlayStation Plus in droves for old games. You aren't. Right now, people coming into the PlayStation ecosystem, I guarantee you a ton of them are like me, and they're new to the PlayStation ecosystem. You are not going to get them to sign up for PlayStation Plus for old games. Nostalgia sells. I think the people that care about that have already signed up. I'm talking about getting new people to jump into PlayStation Plus. There is literally no way they're going to be compelled by PS1 and PS2 games. The old games are the only thing you get with the premium sub. That's simply untrue. I didn't design the sub tiers. That's how they did it. The premium sub comes with trials, and it comes with extra games every month that you get. Now, if you're saying you want to get people to upgrade to premium with the older games, I again think those people have already done it. I don't think there's this ocean of people that are like holding out hope that they start adding more PS1 and PS2 games and then they'll upgrade. I just don't think so. I don't think that's a priority. I would put money on the table and I would bet and say the market research agrees with me that there is not a quantifiably large enough group of people that are like, I tell you what, I'd really upgrade or I'd sign up for that if they'd add a bunch of old games to it. I just don't think so. I don't. I think the new is what gets that's how you tantalize people. Like when you throw Spider-Man on PlayStation Plus, or you throw other games on PlayStation Plus. Like premium is quite literally there for what, the trials and then the backlog. And if you want a larger backlog than they've done and you're currently not signed up for premium, I don't know how much they could do to convince you. So you're considering that there are consumers right now that don't have premium, and they would be won over by the old games. So they presently haven't been won over by the old games that are there. I don't think that there's enough of those people. I think the people that were wanting those old games have already grabbed premium. Now they might have canceled, but I don't know if you could get them back. That's so much work. That's so much cost involved to get all those games up and running and working, and then you got to throw a lot of them on the cloud in the hopes that you get some people to like upgrade their sub. I don't think so. I don't think that's a priority right now. I really don't. Wouldn't shock me at all if we turn around in 2 or 3 years and they've barely added any of those old games. They've not gone back and done it. It wouldn't shock me if that in 2026 we turn around and we're like, yeah, that's it. Those are the games. They're not adding any more. I just don't think it's a priority. I'm saying if they don't add old games, people will downgrade. It's possible, but I think a better way to get people to upgrade to premium would be to add more relevant, newer perks, not old games. You know what I'm saying? If their priority is we don't want people to downgrade or we want people to upgrade, I don't think you do that with old games. I don't think it's nearly as compelling as perks or spiffs or new stuff, you know. I don't know. You could be right and I could be wrong. I just would hazard a guess that the monsoon of consumers out there that are either not on premium or have downgraded from premium, I don't think they're all waiting with bated breath to be like, I really hope they add a bunch of old games and then I'll upgrade or I'll go back. I just don't think so. More first day releases? Yeah, I don't think they're going to do that either. We still need game preservation, though. The video game library and other companies have brought up many points to preserve video games from either physical and digital. I think your issue with game preservation is always going to come down to money. It's always going to come down to money. Who's going to do it? Who? And then demand is going to be really rough because the people that care about game preservation, you know what they're doing right now? They're already doing it. And they're not spending any money. So there's no money in it. Like, if the companies started to fund game preservation and created some, I don't know, some emulation library, some global video game emulation library, that was monetized to some degree so that you could get publishers to play ball. Like maybe they get a percentage of every sale. Like if you go buy like a really old PlayStation game or Dreamcast game or something and the publisher's still around, they get a cut every time somebody buys that old emulated game, okay? Which PlayStation isn't going to play ball because if they're going to bring the game back, they're going to bring it back and put it on their own service. If Nintendo's going to bring a game back, they're going to bring it back and put it on their own service, as they're currently doing. So you ain't going to get two of the biggest players involved. That's already going to make it tough. Nintendo's not going to let you have Nintendo games. Are you kidding me? It's Nintendo. So game preservation would be what? Like Coleco and Atari games and Dreamcast games, and that's it. And I guess like old Xbox games, but even Xbox has backwards compatibility. So who are you going to get to do it, and who are you going to get to be involved? Like, and how's anybody going to make any money off of this? And if they can't make money off of it, nobody's going to do it. And the reason it would be hard to make money off of it is because the people that right now are heavily invested in emulation and game preservation, they just steal the games. They don't care. They're like, nope, and maybe they have a collection of Nintendo cartridges and they basically only get the games that they own so that they can continue to play them, which, fine. If that's what you want to do, whatever. But in my mind, there's no market for it. Because a company's not going to do it if they can't make money off of it, and they can't make money off of it if the target audience is already doing it for free. Don't you see, the people that campaign for game preservation are one of the primary reasons it'll probably never happen, because they're actively saying, I'm interested in game preservation, I'm already doing it, I'm not spending any money to do it, it's completely and totally free, so I'm your target audience and I would give you no money for it. So please, businesses and companies that, you know, answer to shareholders, please spend money and invest in something that you'll make no money on. Like, good luck with that. Good luck with that. Game preservation won't happen because of that. You'll get game preservation from people like PlayStation and Nintendo, sort of, in the way that they let you play games backwards compatible through their services, but they're never going to fund it, and they're never going to play along because it's their property. They just aren't. Preservation is taking care of itself. All PlayStation 3 games or earlier are physical and can easily be preserved through that or emulation already. PS4 gen and newer are all going to be backwards compatible and available to us. Yeah, if you want to go back to early Nintendo games too, same deal. They're preserving those games and they're doing it in their subservice. If you want to play original Nintendo games, not all of them, or Super Nintendo games, you can. But you got to pay Nintendo. You got to pay the piper. Surprise, surprise, some of the most emulated games are Nintendo games because people don't want to do that. Like, I get it. I would much prefer to go into the marketplace on Nintendo and just buy those old games instead of pay for a service. We don't even know if the Pro is real. At this point, anybody saying that, I would say, is in denial. We have too many outlets saying we have concrete information, we have the data, we have the documents, the dev kits are in the hands of the developers. To say that we don't know it's real is just, at that point, I just think you're in denial. There's no way that all these outlets have been fooled by internal documents. And the one thing that Insider Gaming verified, like, they verified it like through a portal, like an actual PlayStation, not the portal that you hold, but like, it's been double and triple verified. Like, this thing's real and it's coming, you know. Listen, the PlayStation 5 Pro has really put some people through the ringer, okay? The first wave was just outright denial. It's not real. That's stupid. Why would they do that? And then the second wave, when it was very clear that it was real, it's not needed. It's not necessary. What a waste. And then it was, it's going to be CPU bottlenecked. You guys are suckers for buying it. And then it was clear that it actually was going to have pretty impressive performance. We were hearing certain games getting pretty significant bumps from these insiders, from these leakers. So now, where have we arrived? We've arrived at mid-gen PlayStation's giving up. The PlayStation 5 didn't make good on its promises, so now they're selling the PS5 Pro, and, you know, you're suckers. The PlayStation 5 is a failure. To me, I think what's remarkable is the degree to which people will not just believe a lie, but self-deceive themselves into thinking that, like, it's actually, like, real. It's one thing to, like, spread it and be like a troll and to be basically to be like a propagandist. It's another thing to, like, actually self-deceive yourself and to be like, yeah, man, PS5 failed. It's so bad that they're having to do a mid-gen refresh. And it's like, all right. Like, at this point, it's better to just laugh at it than to respond to it. It's not even worthy of a response. You know? It's not. It's not worthy of a response. Like, okay. Whatever you need to tell yourself, Turbo, to feel better and to sleep at night. Like, okay. Yeah. Fine. Sure. Yeah, Sony's failing so hard. They're selling reskin 5s. Yeah, I've seen some takes where, like, I read it, John, and I'm like, it's not satire, but it reads like satire. You almost hope that it is. You're like, I pray that this is satire, because you're able to operate a motor vehicle and you go out into the public. Like, it's kind of scary. Like, that to me is terrifying. Like, you have access to a car and the public. And this is what you're saying. And you're serious. It's not satire. It's like, okay. They've been quiet lately on my feeds. It has largely quieted down. It has largely quieted down, Eugene. But I saw that yesterday from a couple of people. I was like, oh, that's what we're going with now. Okay. PlayStation failed. Got it. Okay. The PS5 Pro is a response to their failure. All right. Okay. That's... Anyways. PS5's tapped out, folks. It's over. It's over, guys. Oh, man. You were giving Xbox all this crap for selling 2 consoles. Now Sony does it and it's okay. Yeah. The scary part is there might be people that depend on them for something. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like, what is going on? Guys, if you're enjoying the show, do me a favor. Let's set our sights on 300 likes. Let's get 50 more likes on the video. If you guys missed the premiere, we're going with a different format now. I premiere my monologue in the morning as an upload. You watch it, you can hang out in the chat, and then it brings everybody over to the live stream. If you missed that monologue, you can always go watch it later. That's super helpful to me and supports me. Make sure you leave likes and comments on that video. Some of the comments we've received on it. Remember Red Dead Redemption 2 on the PS4 Pro? Yes. And I don't understand. This guy says PC is going to be the default for both Xbox and PlayStation. Look at Ghost of Tsushima for PC. It lets you get trophies, friends, just like PlayStation. No point getting a PlayStation. Ghost of Tsushima released 4 years ago. But okay. It released 4 years ago. But all right, dude. Okay. That's the other one that kills me. There's no reason to have a PlayStation. Sure. Go. I'm fine with that. If that's what you believe, go for it. The market doesn't seem to think that based on sales projections and trajectories, but sure. You go ahead. It'll make it easier for the rest of us to get one when we want one. Like, don't buy one. That's fine. If you are happy to play on PC, man, more power to you. If that's where you enjoy it so much, I don't know why you have to campaign for the superiority for it. Like, if it's so superior, why are you in my comments making sure to tell me that it's superior? You know? Yeah, it's superior to wait for a game for 4 years, for sure. Yes. For some people, yeah, because you've got your standards, and your standards dictate that you are happier to wait for the game, and then you get all of your beautiful performance, and you get to increase the res and increase this and increase that. Man, that's great, man. Good for you. That's awesome. What it communicates to me is very different. I don't come to the same conclusion. So I see you on the PC as a consumer getting value, and I'm like, that's great. That's why when really hardcore PlayStation fans were celebrating The Last of Us Part 1 port, like being bad on PC, they were like laughing at PC players. I was like, that's got to be one of the dumbest responses I've ever seen. Why would you think that that's funny? That like a consumer got a bad product from your favorite brand. Like, that seems kind of stupid. Well, I look at it and see a customer with standards, a customer with priorities, and they're getting something that's meeting those standards and priorities. And I say, you're basically saying that PlayStation is great and that you want to support them. I don't see a reason, like, there's no reason to get a PlayStation. That to me seems like a weird conclusion to come to. Like, maybe for you, but for tons of other people, they're playing Spider-Man 2 already. They're playing They've already played Ragnarok. They've already played Horizon Forbidden West. You haven't touched those games yet. Well, Forbidden West just came out, so maybe that one. Stone Spire with another gifted member takes us to 14. You guys are going to have to hustle. Gifted members can now come to the writer's room. They can come to Friday nights. So let's get those gifteds going. Let's hit 25. Usually by now, I've already gifted 5 or 10 members, y'all. Let's get it. You respect the customer? Well, that's what is different between me and the PC Master Race guy that's like, you're stupid. Why are you buying a console? What a waste. No reason to buy one. And it's like, well, one of us is secure enough to say, I respect your decision to play on PC, and I respect your willingness to not play Spider-Man 2 right now, or God of War Ragnarok. Great. If that's how you want to play it. Stone Spire's trying to set up a 10 bomb. He gifts another one. 15 out of 25. We'll see if anybody takes the bait, Stone Spire. You've been the king. You've been the king of the layup lately. Thank you so much. Like, I'm secure enough to be like, that's fine, dude. If that's what you want to do. Patrick Q gifts another one and takes us to 16. Thank you so much, Patrick. Good to see Suede get a gifted. See, that's why I wanted to start letting gifted members come to Writer's Room, and why I wanted to start letting gifted members come to Friday Nights with Madam again. Because it's like, you're all members. Like, let's just have fun in the content and quit trying to create all these weird, barriers. Like, I understand why we did it. I think it was a good decision, but it was just too confusing. So I wish we could get Switch 2 news. Oh, the Switch 2 is probably first or second quarter next year. So I don't know what that's going to do for you for the rest of this year. But to me, if you value convenience, if you value performance, if you value getting the games right away, right? What's the benefit of gifted over members then? I'm not sure what you're saying, Abe. If you value those things, then a PlayStation 5 is a great purchase. It's $500 and you get all those things. You get great performance, especially from the first party games. You get the convenience of just hooking it up. You get the games as soon as they come out. You don't have to wait, right? So if you value those things, PlayStation 5 makes perfectly good sense to buy. If you're like, I value performance way more than I value getting the games right away, I'm not worried about the convenience of hooking it up. I like having a computer. I like being able to tweak settings. I like the freedom of the platform and the openness of the platform, right? I miss the old member hangout thing you used to do. Well, you'll be there today, Devil Shooter. Thank you so much for 12 months as a member. You'll be there today. That's coming back. It's called something different now. It's called the Writer's Room, but you'll be able to come to that today. So yeah, I think what I think people fail to understand is consumers have different values and priorities, and they're going to go to where they determine. You'll ask in Writer's Room? Yeah, we'll talk about it in the Writer's Room, Abe. I'll explain it. Third person single player. Astro Pulse Reincarnation announced by renowned former Blizzard artist Wei Wang has announced Astro Pulse, a new single-player sci-fi third-person shooter RPG set in a war-torn future Earth that aims to be part of the larger... what's that word at the end there? Anyways, as someone who works on a Windows PC all day for my job, the last thing I want to do is use the same OS to relax and play games. What's funny about that, JG from Space, is I've had other people say that. I have. I've had other people be like, well, I work on a PC all day. I don't want to look at a PC at the end of the day. And that one's interesting to me. I don't think that way. I just like being able to, I push a button on my controller and then I turn my TV on and that's it. Like, I know I've got a Bluetooth mouse and sit on my couch and drag it around and click this and then open up Steam and click this and open up the game. Like, I know that's not a bunch of extra steps. It's just mentally I'm like, it's just easier. I just like it. I just prefer it. Jiraiya Music with a gifted membership. Thank you so much, taking us to 17 members on the day. You're that way. Yeah, I've had a lot of people say that. They're like, I work on a PC all day, dude. I don't want to touch a PC at the end of the day. I'm like, okay. I don't get that. I work with Windows all day too, and I don't mind it either way. For some people, it's probably just like some form of compartmentalization. You know, they compartmentalize a little bit, and they compartmentalize the PC for work and the console for leisure, and that to them is, you know, that's normal. I just don't understand why all these people are saying that you don't need a PS5 to play games like Ghost of Tsushima, where they were made 4 years ago. Well, I mean, to me, what it is, Alex, is it's just people who, I just think that they're just toxic. I mean, there's not another way to talk about it. There really isn't another way to talk about it. Seeing a game come to PC and seeing it run really well, like Horizon Forbidden West, or seeing these stats for Tsushima, and instead of getting excited about that and be like, I can't wait to play that, that looks so great. Instead of doing that, they run to YouTube, Twitter, or Reddit to basically be unkind to people who made a different purchase than they have. Like, if you really think about that, right? Imagine finally getting a movie on Netflix. Can you envision yourself going to Twitter or forums or anywhere and being like, all you idiots who were paying for Amazon Prime, there's no reason to have that because I got that movie now too, 4 years later. Like, you'd look at that behavior and go, kind of odd behavior. You like Netflix that much? Like, you're that tribalistic about how you spend your money? That's weird, bro. Like, what? It doesn't. It's odd. It's weird behavior. It's become normal, but if you analyze it and actually think about it, it's like, no, that's pretty weird, bro. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I see the Tsushima announcement for PC and I get excited. I'm like, it's like one of my favorite games. More people are going to be able to play it. I hope it ports really, really well. I hope it performs really, really well, right? Because to me, that's what matters. It's like, man, if these games make more money and more people play them, that's awesome. That's awesome. People are like, well, why are you against day and date? Or why are you against multiplats? Why do you like exclusivity? Why do you like timed exclusivity? Aha, because my priorities aren't shifting. When I get excited about Tsushima coming to PC, what's one of the first things I say? I hope it gets a great port. I hope it runs really well. So the same thing about Horizon Forbidden West. It's why I was so critical of the Last of Us port. Why? Because you're bringing something to market that doesn't run that well. And the reason I like timed exclusivity and the reason I like exclusivity is you get a better product. You do. The pattern is clear. You're getting better products out of the games that are built for one system and then are then ported later. Whether you look at Returnal or Ratchet & Clank or Spider-Man or Horizon or God of War or Tsushima or Days Gone, that pattern is crystal clear that those games came out and ran great, and then they ported them and they ran great. And there's a more consistent pattern in multi-plat releases that are not ready. They take longer to come to market. Developers have said they have to shrink their vision. They have to shrink what they want to do. They have to innovate less. They can't do as much as they would like. And then your optimization's not as good. So the pattern is clear to me. It's like, in my mind, the market is healthier when the consumers get the best version of the product. Now, if that means you have a staggered exclusivity release schedule, I'm in support of that. Why? For the same reason that PC gamers right now are saying, well, there's no reason to have a PlayStation. Why? Because their standards are, this is more important than getting the game right away. That's a really interesting question to ask the PC Master Race guys. That's a really interesting question to ask them. Oh, Ghost of Tsushima comes to PC 4 years later. You're out here sauntering around saying, yep, no reason to own a PlayStation. All you guys that bought a PlayStation are suckers. Okay, now hang on a second. You just basically confirmed that timed exclusivity and staggered release schedules of exclusivity aren't bad because it fits your standard. You're okay with this. You're fine with this. Like, you're okay with it because your standards are up here and that release schedule doesn't harm your standards being met. And when I look and say, exclusives tend to come to market and they're better in quality. They tend to come to market at a faster interval, especially when they're working within an existing game or engine like we've seen with Horizon and Spider-Man, right? And with God of War. Their schedule and cadence was great. It was very good. I think that's an advantage anytime you do a sequel, obviously. And they ran fantastic. And then they come to PC and they run fantastic. That, to me, is the best scenario because everybody's getting a very, very good version of the product. I don't know why anybody would be against that. Because again, that's all logical. The idea that games should land everywhere is ideological. It's not rooted in facts and reason and logic. It's not listening to what developers say. It's not considering the obvious conventional wisdom of it requires more bandwidth to make a game for every system. And when you make a game for every system, you're going to trim down innovative ideas. You're going to trim down on things that you'd like to try because that's not as big as a priority. You got to get the game to run on all these systems. So anybody who's saying that, imagine going to a developer and saying that, let's say they're starting to build a game right now. They need to build a game for the Switch 2, the PlayStation 5, the Series X, the Series S, and then all the different combinations on PC. Go to a dev and ask them to do that. I mean, according to the ideology, that's what they should do, right? Games should land everywhere. Exclusivity is the devil and it's bad and nobody should do it and it's anti-consumer. So go to a dev and ask them to do that. Why do you think most devs aren't doing that? Why do you think most developers aren't saying, we're going to put our game on literally every platform? Also, why do you think developers stop building their games for the PS4 or the older Xboxes? Why do you think developers stop doing that? Why do you think developers start leaving behind old hardware on PC? Why? That's anti-consumer, isn't it? There are tons of consumers right now on a PlayStation 4. A lot of them. Millions of people right now are still on a PlayStation 4. Isn't it anti-consumer to not make games for the PlayStation 4? Where's the line? When do you stop building games for the old gen? When? The ideology has no elasticity. Like, you can't apply it. You cannot apply it in the way that people talk about it. It's not possible. It just simply is impossible. It's like, so you should then make a game for every system, every iteration of every system for all time, because if not, you're being anti-consumer. So, I'm excited that Tsushima's coming to PC. I hope it's great. I hope it's a fantastic port. I'm excited that Horizon Forbidden West came to PC, and it was a great port. I played it. It runs so well. It's so well optimized. Alex from Digital Foundry said, like, it can even run on, like, weaker rigs. It's been built so well. That's great. That's exactly how it should be. About half of the base is still on PS4. Yeah, that's a lot of people. You got 40 or 50 million people probably right now just continuing to play on a PlayStation 4. And devs are going to leave that behind. That's anti-consumer according to the ideological nonsense that I see spewed on this subject. It's like, okay, well then every dev should keep making for the PS4. Jedi Survivor, well, see, and that's when we focus on the wrong thing. Like, you would then conclude that, like, well, Jedi Survivor was anti-consumer because it left behind the PS4. No, it was anti-consumer because it came to market and the consumer got something that wasn't ready. But I guess they are trying to bring Survivor to old gen. Good luck with that, by the way. I don't know if we even have a timeline on that. Good luck. Golly, that'll run so poorly on those old systems. They barely got that thing to run well on the new systems. Console gamers be like, hey, There's a once-in-a-lifetime rock concert in town. Let's go. PC Gamer's like, nah, I'm going to wait 2 years for the better quality streaming version. I don't think that is the best... I don't think that's the best analogy. I think you could tweak that analogy to make it better, Will. That would be like my friend saying, let's go to the movie theater to watch the latest Top Gun. And I was like, no, I'm going to wait and watch it on my home theater system, you know, let's say 4 years later, because I'm going to be able to do all these things that I've invested money in with my speakers and my TV. Like, let's say I've just spent tons of money investing in my own home theater, okay? That, to me, is a better analogy. Why? Because the way people invest money in their PC, they say, I am happy to wait to play PlayStation games if and when they land on PC. I don't want to play games on a console because the performances and the hardware is going to be below what I have valued. You know, maybe somebody's done a ton of research and they're like, yeah, the average movie theater uses these speakers and the sound's too loud, so you get distortion and pollution. I'm making this up, by the way. Just imagine somebody like that, right? They're going to say, no, I feel I get a superior experience at home. I don't have any problem with somebody saying that. That's completely fine if that's their priority. I get annoyed by when they turn it into like a tribalistic fight of, you're stupid, there's no reason to buy a PlayStation 5. It's like, even deep down that they know what they're saying is utter foolishness. It's just part of a circus show right now where everyone's fighting over where they play their video games. They know what they're saying is foolish, which is what makes it, I think it makes it doubly annoying, right? It's like when somebody says something and you know they're trying to annoy you. You're almost more annoyed by the fact that they're trying to annoy you. Like, what they're doing isn't inherently that annoying, but the fact that they're trying to adds to it. To me, it's like, it adds to the frustration. It's like, you know what you're saying is utter foolishness. Like, you don't really mean it. It's just a circus show. Like, you're just dancing around and saying, oh yeah, you know, and that's why you, as the consumer, should always go where you want to go and have the best experience. If you feel you're getting the best experience on the Nintendo Switch right now, have a ball. You know, we just got a Switch Lite for my son because he's watching my daughter play Princess Peach, and he's like, I want to play that game. And I'm like, you got to wait. And I was like, well, there's been a lot of games lately they both wanted to play on the Switch, so I was like, well, let's get him a Lite so he can play, you know. Yeah, it's insult to injury. Yeah. I was a console gamer. I moved to PC. I love the games you get on PC more than console or the big games with all the mods available, but keeping my PS5. Right. And so I am the opposite of that. I don't want to go in and fiddle with things. I don't want to go fiddle with mods. I don't want to do any of that. Now, I'm obviously not opposed to going in and tweaking some settings, you know. Let me mess with some FOV. Let me mess with some texture, shadow, lighting settings to get better performance, right? You know, because I'm on a more mid-level rig. It's a little bit of an older rig at a 2080 Ti. So more and more I'm having to do that now if I decide to play a game. I will likely have to do that with Hellblade 2. I don't mind that, but if I have to go beyond what I just described and I gotta tinker around with drivers and roll back and change this setting in Windows and change that setting and open up this file and change this one text line to a -1, brother, I would just as soon get a pistol out and shoot my computer before I would want to do that. Just boom, I don't even want to do that. Like, it just takes me to the red zone. It's like, nope, not interested. I'll just go play on my couch. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody's different. There are people that love that. They absolutely love that. They get on the forums. They're like, what tricks did you try? I tried this. What about that? You know? And once they get... The reason that they don't think it's that big of a deal is because once they get adept in that reality, they know that there's like 10 or 15 things to check and try. And after that, it is kind of like, well, we have to wait for a patch. But those 10 or 15 things, they like it. They like the trial and error. They like to fiddle with it. And I'm just like, dude, no, I don't want to do any of that. That sounds like a homework assignment. You know what I mean? That sounds like a homework assignment. I have my own preferences for where I play, but my advice to friends and enemies never changes. Get the system that has the games that you want. If that's a PC, cool. If it's a Switch, cool. Whatever. Yeah. So when I look at the PS5 Pro, the PlayStation 5 Pro is going to do what I want. It's going to push performance. It's going to push the graphics. I'm going to get more out of my games. That to me is very appealing. It's not that dramatic. Oh, it is that dramatic sometimes. It certainly is. When games come out and they're not, well optimized, do you honestly think that when like Dragon's Dogma 2 came out, when it came out, do you honestly think that the average adept PC owner didn't spend an afternoon fiddling around and trying to get things to run well? And I'm not saying it's complex. I'm just saying it's an investment of time, and it's an investment of like tweaking and fiddling around with things. Like, I guarantee you a large portion of the people who bought Dragon's Dogma 2, they spent a good portion of their day trying to get that thing to run better. They did. They were like, what's going on? Especially people who have spent good money on their rig, because they know they're going to notice before anybody else. They're like, yo, what is happening with this game? You know, I would have done that back when I got Destiny 2. I spent an afternoon tweaking things to get it to run really, really well on my PC. I have Dragon's Dogma 2 on PC. No, I didn't. Good for you. I guarantee you tons of people did. If you expect me to believe people who have invested money in their PC didn't spend an afternoon or an allotted amount of time tinkering with Dragon's Dogma 2, you haven't read the reviews. You haven't read the reviews. They went in, they tinkered around, they were fiddling around. They couldn't get the things to run right. They couldn't get things to run well. It was crashing. Of course they were. Just because you weren't, that's the point. There are people that like doing that. They think that it's fun. They see it as like this fun, I don't even know, challenge, I guess. I've not had a problem with Dragon's Dogma 2. I hear people have, so I don't be that person that says, well, not me. Yeah, I know. I did that accidentally yesterday. I hate when people do that. Well, I'm not having any problems. It's like, yeah, sure. Take 5 minutes and read the reviews. There's serious issues with that game. I don't know if they've even turned much of it around, you know. It's funny when you get people that say dead game, then you ask them what's the player count on consoles, they can't answer. Still at a mixed. It's got a 60%. I swear, if that game gets nominated for Game of the Year or wins Game of the Year, that's gonna be embarrassing. 40 frickin' % on Steam. That's a joke. I was so glad that like Jedi Survivor didn't get a bunch of nominations. I was like, no. And it got media darling treatment, all these 9s and 10s, you know? I play Helldivers on PS5 because my PC can't handle it. Yeah, I mean, sometimes, your PC just ages, and if you're not constantly, well, maybe not constantly, if you're not regularly considering, wanting to make it better and wanting to upgrade, yeah, eventually you're just going to find yourself not happy with the performance, Which my second stream today will be, I'm going to be checking out Witchfire. There's a new update for Witchfire that we'll be checking out. Whenever I watch a streamer playing new PC games, I would always wait an hour for that person to tinker in settings and stuff before I started watching the stream. Yeah, it's common. Like, I wasn't trying to say that like every single person does it or you always have to do it. That's the point, though. It's an option, not a requirement. I never said it was a requirement. I said that it wouldn't surprise me at all if when a game like Dragon's Dogma 2 comes out, that I said a lot of people probably did that. It's it's funny how like I could say something to the effect of like, if you leave a chocolate chip cookie out in the sun, the chocolate will melt. And people be like, well, not if you put it in the shade and the sun's not out yet. It's like, you can say the most non-outlandish, non-scandalous, I could say the most pedestrian thing, and some of y'all insist on debating a point that was never stated. It's like, can you believe this guy? Can you believe it? Said that if you put a chocolate chip cookie out in the sun, the chocolate would melt. Doesn't consider the fact that, what if you live in a colder climate? What if you live in Alaska and it's the wintertime? What an idiot. God, he's out here. He's trying to act like he knows about baking. Well, not my chocolate chip cookies. I freeze them. I put them in the freezer. Oh, my gosh. Clip it. That's right. That's right. It really do be that way. It really do be that way, bro. Like an offhand remark in like a 2-hour-long stream gets turned into like, an entire series of videos and clips, It's just one offhanded remark. Can you believe this idiot thinks that PC players tinker with every game and they have to spend a bunch of time fiddling with the settings? What a moron. And it'll be like, no, I just said that that's a pretty common thing that I bet a lot of them do, and especially when a game comes out like Dragon's Dogma 2. I think it's a pretty fair assumption that very invested PC players, especially if they spend a lot of money on their PC, they're going to spend time trying to get the game to run better. You were saying you don't game on PC because you have to tweak. I'm just saying you don't. And you're incorrect. You're incorrect. Like, to say you don't have to tweak. So, just booting up a PC game and not changing any settings, not fiddling with anything, that to act as if that's the normal experience for someone in our hemisphere is silly. That's absolutely silly. You're on YouTube in a live stream about gaming. You boot up a game and you tweak. You do. You fiddle with the settings. You set them to your liking. You make sure you're getting good performance. You do. If you say you don't, you are absolutely not being honest. That is not what invested, educated, tuned-in gamers do. You are going to tweak. There's literally no way. I don't believe you if you try to tell me you're like, yeah, I just boot up every game and I don't fiddle or tweak with anything. Sure you do. You don't change a single thing. You just out of the box PC game. You don't change the resolution, the FOV. You don't mess with the lighting, the shadows, the textures, nothing. You're just like, however it takes, that's what I'm going to play. You're not being honest. You're not telling the truth. And I do it in console games, but it's like a couple of checkboxes, right? It's like invert vertical on the joystick, turn off motion blur, and turn down camera shake is usually pretty much, that's the gist of it. And make sure it's on performance mode. That's pretty much it. But even on PC, I'm not even a big PC guy, and I would tweak more than that. I would fiddle with more than that. Lord Horg with 11 months. PC is browsing the web. It's for browsing the web and doing taxes. That's right. That's right. I have a 3080 and an i7 3700, so I didn't have to adjust much graphic settings. I did lock my FPS at 60 in NVIDIA and turn off motion blur and things like that. There's always adjusting needed, but overall, I'm pleased with the performance of mine. Obviously, mileage will vary. It's not just mileage will vary. I said, I would bet that a lot of people that play Dragon's Dogma 2 spent a portion of their day trying to get it to run better. That's what he took issue with. Come on. Did you boot up Dragon's Dogma 2 and just take it as it comes? Come on. Even people with, I bet you, people with really, really big, strong rigs, they were more likely. They were probably more likely to try to tweak things in Dragon's Dogma 2. Because they're the first to know something's not right. I'm not getting very good performance here. You know, you got a $4,000 rig, you know, and you got RGB this and RGB that. You know, your lights are synced with your, you know, the mood of the day and the temperature in the room, and you're ready to go. You're gonna tweak more than anybody because you're like, what's going on here? I paid all this money for this rig. Why am I not getting, you know, consistent performance here? Camera shake. I usually like when a game lets me turn camera shake down to like a 2. Like I like a little bit because it adds some immersion point, but I don't like it. I don't like a ton of it. 40% of Steam users don't recommend DD2, and I guarantee it's that low because of performance. Yeah. And if you go read a lot of the reviews, that's what I said. Go read the reviews. They spent time trying to get it to run well, and they couldn't. They couldn't. Like, the PC user that I know, and especially if you go and look at Steam, number one, they do not tolerate bad performance, and they also don't just take the game as it comes. They go in and they try to fix it. They go in and try to get it to run better. They'll turn off different settings. They'll turn the lighting down, shadows down, textures down. They'll turn the resolution down. They'll get it. They want to get a little bit of consistency out of the game, or they want to get what they consider to be consistent performance, whatever their threshold is. I mean, I did that with Starfield. I spent about 5 minutes tweaking things and just kind of experimenting in an open area with the FPS. Yeah, did you play The Last of Us Part 1 port out of the box and not change anything? Right? Come on. It was what I said was so tame. It's I don't want to have to do that. Like, let me make it more clear why I said what I said. So when Jedi Survivor came out, and it ran like dookie sauce on PC, and it ran like dookie sauce on my PlayStation 5. Do you know what I didn't do? I didn't waste a minute of my time trying to fix it. Why? Because I'm on a console, and I'm like, well, they're going to have to patch this. And I just moved on. Because if your game comes out and it runs like that, and it's bad, and it's poorly optimized, I'm not going to take time to try to fix your poorly built game. I'm not going to do that. I'm not. Now, if it's like, oh no, update your drivers, there's new drivers, it'll fix the issue. Sure, I'll do that. That's sensible. I think that's sensible. I think that's fine. You know? Oh, there's a patch. Download the patch. Okay, sure. Those things I think are fine. Those things I think are fair, but I'm not going to go beyond that. Unless it's Hellblade. Shut up about Hellblade. Hellblade is the one exception. I will in that game. Yes, I will. I will try to get it to run well, and I will also ban you if you continue to do that, Lone Wolf. If you guys continue to goad me about Hellblade 2, I will ban every gold badge, red badge. I'll ban my mods. I'll ban my producer. I'll ban all of you. I'll just sit here and talk by myself, okay? If you guys keep with doing the slander of Hellblade. Clip that. Put that in a video. You aren't swapping out DLSS and DLL files? No, I don't think I'm doing that. I don't think so. Oh my gosh. I forget. I think there was something in Destiny. There was something in Destiny at one point in time that people were like, I forget what it was. We went into a file and we changed something. I forget what it was. You just need to expect the worst from Hellblade 2 for your own health. We're trying to help you. Listen. Intellectually, I know that game is very likely going to disappoint me. Emotionally, I'm not prepared for that. You know, I got a head and a heart. I got both, okay? Like, intellectually, I know I will probably never get to hug Henry Cavill. But emotionally, I still really hope it happens one day. Like, that's the point. Is like, I know. It's probably going to disappoint me. It probably is. And I really hope that I'm wrong. The lower my expectations can be, the better experience I'll have in that game. The better experience I have. And I would like to play the first Hellblade leading up to it. I don't know if we can work that out on the channel, but it is such a short game. We might be able to do that in like a 3-part series. I think that'd be really, really fun. And I could point out all my favorite parts, my least favorite parts, you know, some of my gripes. Maybe I can finally get that last stupid trophy, that dumb rune that I always miss in that one section. I don't know where it is. It's the one where you have to stay in the light and that stinking giant dog chases you. And if you go too far, you can't go back. And every time I get to the point, I'm like, I missed it. I was like, I don't know where it is. Does your head or your heart tell you that your farts feed children in Africa? I mean, it's very possible, Eugene. You know, if you crop dusted, you know, the shoe section of Target, and there was some guy that was going to come through there and buy the shoes, and he chose not to buy the shoes, and instead he went home. He's like, gosh, it stinks over here. He's like, it smells like somebody burnt a cat, you know. And then he goes home and he decides, you know what, instead of buying those shoes, I'm going to invest. I'm just kidding, I'm not going there. So yeah, I do think there's instances where my fart could feed, you know, a village. I think it's possible. I do. I think that it could happen. Butterfly effect, you know? The butterfly effect, man. Everything you do has an impact. You never know what it's going to lead to. Oh my gosh. I'm concerned to know that Lono knows what a burnt cat smells like. I mean, I don't, but I just assume it would be terrible. You know? I'm assuming it would be terrible. I think what would be more concerning is if you assumed that it smelled good. You'd be like, no, it smells pretty good. I'd be like, wait, what? How do you know that? Like, I'm just assuming that when you burn an animal, it smells bad. You know? Because usually it's anytime hair burns. Like, if you've ever smelled somebody when, like, their hair gets singed, you know, because they get too close to something, you're like, oh, it smells terrible. It's the fartifly effect. Oh my gosh. He used to have cats but doesn't know. Almost everybody knows what a little bit of burnt hair smells like. It's easy to assume that a burned creature would be like 20 times. That's what I'm saying. Like a little bit of burnt hair and you're like, ugh, like what happened? You know, imagine a full-grown animal, you know, even if it's dead and that you're just deciding to cremate it in your backyard because you're freaking weird and don't want to take it to the pet store, right? Yeah, it would smell terrible. All of your neighbors would complain. They'd call the fire marshal on you. They'd be like, this guy's back here burning animals. The whole neighborhood stinks, you know? I used to work in kitchens, and yes, burnt hair smells terrible. Mm-hmm. Why did burnt pig smell pretty good? Because Trill. Listen, Trill. I know y'all, you know, don't like to be around farm animals all that much. But like, come on, dude. Have you never seen a pig? They don't have any hair. Of course they smell great. It's the fact that they don't have hair. You take dead animals to the pet store? Yeah? I live in the suburbs. I'm not going to bury the cat in my backyard, and you can't throw him in the trash. You take him to the pet store, and they'll cremate him. What are you doing? Listen, if you live out in the country, you could dig a pretty, you want to dig it deep enough that you don't get some, you know, nasty, you know, predators prowling around digging in your yard because they smell a dead animal. But, dude, I live in the suburbs. I'm not burying a cat in my backyard. They're, especially like a full-grown cat. Like, okay, maybe like a pet bird, or like, you know, you flush a goldfish down the toilet, but a full-grown cat, you just take it to the pet store or the vet and they'll cremate it. You have a dead cat buried in my back? You do? See, no, thank you. No, I'm taking that to the store. I'm taking that to the vet or the pet store. I'm letting them doing it. Groundhogs want cat meat? I don't know. Imagine taking a dead cat to the cash register at Petco. No, you just call them ahead of time. Yeah, I just called the pet store and said, hey, do you guys treat sick animals there, and do you also put them down? And they said yes. And I took them to the pet store. They met me outside, and they took her back. And she was too sick. They couldn't help her. So they put her down, and they cremated her. And they offered me the ashes. And I was like, I'm good. She was a wonderful cat. You know, we said bye to each other at the door. She looked at me in my face. I calmed her down because she was freaking out. I was like, it's okay. You're safe. She looked at me. You know, her little paw came out, gave me a little touch. And I was like, this is the end, friend. You know, call ahead and ruin the surprise. No, I wanted to make sure they did it. I wasn't just to take it to the pet store and hope that they do. Like, just walk in with a sick animal, like, help me. Like, you know, like they do in the movies and they go to the ER, like, help. You know, I just walk into a pet store and traumatize all the children. Sick, meowing animal in my arms and wrapped in a towel. Someone help me, my animal's sick. You don't just bury them in the backyard? If I would have gone out and discovered her dead rather than she was very sick, if I would have just found her dead, no, I would not have buried her in my backyard. No. I would have still found somewhere to have her cremated. I'm not doing that. No, thank you. I don't shred up a piece of my yard. No thanks, man. Sounds more like a vet than a pet store. I'm not confused in my memory, English O. It was a pet store, and in the back of the pet store, they had a clinic where you could take sick animals, and you could also have them put down if you needed them to be put down. You know? I'm not saying you can't take them to the vet. A lot of people probably do take them to the vet, but I call the pet store because a lot of the pet stores have, at least in where we live, a lot of the pet stores have like a clinic in the back. They have places in the back like that they'll, you know, you can wash your dogs and all kinds of stuff. Walk in with a dying cat, take it to customer service, ask if they do exchanges. That's right. All right, I forgot to do this, so we're going to do this for... Well, no, I'm not going to do this. We are going to shift gears in about 10 minutes. I'm going to show you guys some Witchfire gameplay. Before we do that, we're 8 members shy of the 25. Y'all are probably going to miss the goal this week just as well as last week. I thought maybe making it just like a goal for the week would help. We'll reassess and discuss in the writer's room. I don't know. Maybe we're approaching this all wrong. Maybe the incentive's not good enough. But we'll figure it out. All right, we'll figure it out. We've always been able to find ways to have those goals and those celebrations, and so we'll reassess. By the way, all gifted members get to come to Writer's Room now. All gifted members get to come to Friday Night Streams with Madam. And the incentive this week is we did the Rage game last week. We played Hellstuck. And then this week's incentive is, well, it's the same as last week. We play a favorite game with 2 controllers. It's a cool thing you can do on the PlayStation, and we think it's pretty funny. We did it once with Horizon Forbidden West, and it was a really, really fun time. If you aren't familiar with Witchfire, they just pushed out new content, and I'm going to show it off. And we don't do gameplay a whole lot on the channel, but we received a code. No, not gaming setup. Okay. Thanks to the devs for sending a code via terminals. Let's see here. Zinthos, thanks for renewing your membership. Gifted in writers. Yeah, I mean, we've got about the last 10 minutes here. I can just kind of, briefly tell you that we just felt like we took all of the excitement out of getting a gifted member, because we basically stopped doing the debrief because it just took up too much of my time to do the debrief and to do writer's room. So only one segment could live. It was like, I can't do both. I wasn't having time to like write my monologues and stuff. Like my day was getting too long because we were doing too many segments. We would do 2 streams sometimes, a stream and an upload, and then a debrief, and then a writer's room, and then I'm trying to write a monologue, in 45 minutes, and I just didn't have enough time. So when we made that change, we basically took, in my opinion, I think we kind of took the wind out of the sails of membership. It's like, congratulations, you got a gifted membership, and you don't get anything. It was like, you get into the Discord, and that's why last month I did 3 of the Friday night streams for everybody, because I was like, I wanted the gifteds to be able to come. So we finally made the decision yesterday. I was like, just let them come to everything. Like, let's just go back to what we were originally doing. Like, gifted members can come to everything. Zinthos, thanks so much for the gifted member, taking us to 18 out of 25. Every 25, I get 5. So I'll give 5 back if we hit that 25. We have not missed that in well over a year. That's a streak we've got going now. I gotta say, if I become a paying member, it won't be for the games talk. It'll be for the comedy. Well, I mean, I hope you're saying that out of kindness. I hope you mean that. And you're not like slamming me. And a 5 bomb from Siege Master takes us to 23. Thank you so much. We had, where were we yesterday? 65. So 65 and the 25 is going to be, no, I'm sorry, we were at 85. I'm sorry, 85. 85 and the 25 will be 110. And a 5 bomb from Zuby takes us past the 23 to 28. And a single from Tubbs takes us to 29. There it is. Now we're moving. Let me drop the 5 that I owe now for the first 25. You guys are cooking now. Let me do the 5 that I owe. This is a great way to introduce people to the community. They can come into the Discord. They can come to Writer's Room. They can come to Friday Night with Madam. There's all kinds of ways for them to enjoy that membership. Now, VIP on Fridays is still going to be just for VIPs. So if you want to come to that, that is going to be more unfiltered. That's going to be a little bit more of like a letting the hair down stream. Writer's Room is going to be primarily planning the shows. So if you want to upgrade to VIP, there is still a reason to do that. Kept the streak alive. We've not missed the 25 for well over a year now, and you guys now have we were at 85 and now we've got 29, 114 on the week. You guys are almost to the halfway mark. The goal of the week was 300. And the reason we did that is we didn't feel like it was fair. It was like you guys were trying to hit total member counts, and we'd be like, we're really close to the 2,300. And then the next day I would wake up and I'd be like, well, we fell. We're not close to that anymore. So what do paying members get that gifted don't? I mean, paying members are going to get priority in Writer's Room. Paying members are going to get priority on Friday nights. And there's really easy ways for us to do that. I can set the chat. We still have a Member Plus at $6. We're wanting to deprecate the upper VIPs, and we're wanting to deprecate the 6. But we could still say, hey, if you're paying, you do, I still want to give a little bit more to paying members, and we'll brainstorm about that today. You guys can provide feedback. Like, if you're paying for your $6 membership instead of the 5 that the gifted or whatever, and you're like, hey, I respect the idea of like, hey, we're supporting the channel directly. We feel like we should get more. I don't think that's an unreasonable request. It wasn't doing what we wanted it to do. It just was setting a very confusing tone. People were buying the $5 tier, and then I was like, oh, hey, you got to upgrade if you want to get like the full membership. And we thought that was really bad. Like, that just sounds terrible. Like, thanks for becoming a member. Please upgrade. So, we can talk about it more in Writer's Room. But it also, as I said, it just took all the excitement. It took all the excitement out of like, hey, you gifted a member, and the person that got gifted a membership gets emotes and access to the Discord. They weren't getting any content anymore. You liked having that barrier? Well, we made the change in January, Abe, and we did not see a positive result. We felt like it was hurting. About 40 people decided to upgrade, and then nobody else did. And then we slowly saw less and less people gifting and less people becoming a member, because it's like I said, I think we took all the excitement out of it. We turned it into a confusing, sort of muddled thing. To me, it makes sense to be like, a member is a member, and then the VIPs get an extra show and an extra room in the Discord. You know, ideally, that's what we would like. A 5 and a 10. That's it. Just those 2 tiers, and that's it. And we would, you know, continue to gift and fill the pool every month and be like, hey, you get to come to content. You get to see extra stuff. And if you want more, you can upgrade, you know. They weren't getting anything. That was the problem. Gifteds were getting nothing. And it's like, hey, you can upgrade. Well, why? I'm not seeing anything. I'm getting a badge. You know, they weren't getting content. So I think we overcorrected is all. May have circled the wagons too closely. Yeah, a little bit. Hang on, this is going to be too loud. Okay. Okay, I changed that. All right. A good way to make Get to feel like they actually belong. The other thing to consider, Abe, there are people with gold badges who have been around since the purple days that are getting gifted, and they couldn't come to anything. Like, I don't like the way that feels. We're seeing people like Feed and Derek and others that are like, they've been around for forever, and they're in a situation where they have to ride gifted, and they can't come to Riders, and they can't come to Friday night. And I just felt like that felt stupid. It was like, you know, these are people that have been around for a really long time, and whatever happens that, you know, they can't currently pay for their own membership. I did not like the way that felt. You know, I'm seeing gold badges get the door slammed in their face, and I'm like, I don't think this is the right call. I think we made a mistake. I think it's better to admit we maybe made a mistake than to just keep going and being like, well, you know, let's just keep going. I think that would be foolish. Witchfire. Is there a Witchfire game account? Who makes this game? I was gonna send out a tweet. Like, who's the dev? Oh, the astronauts. The Astro Crew is their thing. Okay. Have you thought twice a week about making the live shows members only? With this change, there's really not a reason for a gifted member to start paying if they can and possibly persuade. I'll be honest with you. I think what will make people become a member is they decide they like the show and the channel. I don't think we're ever going to set up a scenario where people are like, I get more content. That, like, it seems like the most compelling offer is, this is a great place, I like it here, I want to support directly. I think the vast majority of people that do memberships, that's why they do it. I think a very small percentage of people would be like, well, I'm on a gifted, I'm not getting all the content, it's time for me to pay. I don't think people respond to that. I don't think it feels like a sales pitch. It feels like they're in a store at the register and they're like, well, would you like to add one more thing? You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't think, there's no way to say it without it sounding bad. Does that make sense? Like, it just ends up sounding bad. I think you're going to get way more people that are like, I love this channel. This channel's dope. I don't need a gifted anymore. I'll pay for my own because I want to support directly. I think that's, most people, that's what they do. You know, and I try to level with people. I'm like, listen, I don't run ads during the live stream. We're not a large channel. I do this full time. The only way I'm able to do that is because of the way that you guys support with gifteds and with direct memberships. And if you like having this show every day and you like the fact that I'm like not hitting the show with a bunch of ads, you can choose to support if you can and if you want to. So, And again, we were shutting the door in the face of a lot of people, and I just didn't like the way that felt. Okay. Now, this game is extremely cool. If you are a fan of Destiny, if you're a fan of shooters, if you're a fan of rogues, you are going to want to come to this stream. Even if you guys only come and hang out for about 20 minutes, it helps me out immensely because we got a code for this, and that enables us to do a lot more things when we get, like, you know, good support when we do something with codes. So I am going to put a link in the chat, and if you click that, you can come with us. You can also ride the redirect. Oops, I did not mean to double post in the Discord. And do me a favor before we leave this stream, smash that like button. We might be able to get close to 400 likes on the PlayStation stream. Thanks so much for checking out this video. This is going to be Witchfire gameplay of the brand new Ghost Galleon update. It's a DLC. I'm going to show you all of the classes that you can choose. I'm going to choose one that I like out of the group. I haven't really looked at them yet. And then I'm going to play it. I did get a code from the devs for this through Terminal, so thank you guys so much for sending that code. I have played this game once before on this channel, and I really, really liked it. I really hope they can nail the full release when it comes out. They are planning to have it release on consoles as well. Right now, it's only available in early access on the Epic Store. I'm going to end the previous stream and bring people over with Redirect. We were talking about the PS5 Pro, and so let me get my